My wife believed her daughter's lies and threw me out. 2 weeks later, she realized her mistake. But by then, I'd already moved every asset and built a legal fortress. They never expected a railroad mechanic to document everything like an engineer dismantling a broken system. My name is Warren Strickland. I'm 57 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I understood how the world worked. You show up. You do the work. You take care of family. 33 years as a senior railroad mechanic taught me that. The union taught me problems get solved through documentation, not emotion. My wife believed her daughter's lies and threw me out. 2 weeks later, that daughter was screaming because I'd actually followed through. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Bethany, my stepdaughter, always had a way of bending reality. Small things at first when I married her mother 17 years ago. A teacher who supposedly had it out for her. A friend who betrayed her. I should have seen the pattern. But when you're trying to be a good stepfather, you give the benefit of the doubt. I raised that girl for 17 years. Paid for braces when her biological father disappeared. Co-signed her apartment lease. Drove 6 hours to move her stuff when her roommate bailed. I was there for every crisis, every late-night call. Not for gratitude, because that's what you do. The night it happened, I was in the garage organizing tools. Denise walked in with that expression I'd learned to read. Tight jaw, arms crossed. Already decided. We need to talk, Denise said, her voice flat. I set down my wrench. About what? Bethany told me something today, my wife said, pausing. She said you make her uncomfortable. That you watch her. That she feels unsafe. Unsafe. Not annoyed. Not bothered. Unsafe. That word turns a stepfather into a suspect, a protector into a threat. What are you talking about? I asked, keeping steady. I installed the hallway camera last month because she lost her purse. I've been nothing but. She said you hover. Denise interrupted, not meeting my eyes. That you're always watching. Warren, I need you to understand how serious this is. I understand I'm being accused of something I didn't do. I replied, feeling something cold settle in my chest. And you've already made up your mind. I think it's best if you stay somewhere else for a while, Denise said. I looked past her into the house. Bethany stood in the kitchen doorway, arms folded, face blank. She wasn't crying, wasn't angry, just waiting. And I knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate. I could have fought, demanded explanations, made a scene. But something in me, hardened by decades of union negotiations, understood that emotional reactions only dig the hole deeper. I'll pack a bag, I said quietly. 20 minutes later, I loaded my truck with a duffel, my laptop, and documents I'd learned to keep organized. I didn't slam doors, didn't issue threats. I just left. That night, in a budget motel near the interstate, I opened my laptop and created a folder labeled documentation. 3 names went on my list: my accountant, my lawyer, and a private investigator my union buddy recommended. Below those names, I typed 2 words: Phase 1. They thought I'd come crawling back. Thought I'd beg. They were wrong. I'd spent my career understanding that truth matters less than documentation of truth. And I had 17 years of documentation. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning precision. The motel room smelled like disinfectant and old carpet, but I barely noticed. I'd set up my laptop on the wobbly desk and spread out 17 years of documentation across the bed. Bank statements, tuition receipts, email threads, every check I'd written, every invoice I'd paid, every conversation I'd saved. My son Trevor called around midnight. My daughter Natalie must have told him. Dad, what the hell happened? Trevor asked, his voice tight with anger. Natalie just called me. She's furious. Bethany accused me of making her uncomfortable. I said simply, your stepmother believed her. Asked me to leave. That's insane, Trevor said. Dad, you're the most straight-laced guy I know. You won't even speed on the highway. Doesn't matter what's true, I replied, sorting through a stack of credit card statements. Matters what she believes. And right now, she believes her daughter. So what are you doing? My son asked. What I always do, I said. Documenting everything. Making sure I have proof of every dollar I spent, every sacrifice I made. When this goes south, and it will, I'll have the receipts. Trevor was quiet for a moment. You need help. Not yet, I told him. But I will. Just sit tight for now. The next morning, I met with Raymond Briggs, my accountant. Ray was a former Marine with a buzz cut that never went out of style and eyes that missed nothing. We'd worked together for 15 years, ever since the union recommended him for tax planning. Warren, Ray said, shaking my hand in his small office. What's this about? I laid it out clean. The accusation. The eviction from my own home. My plan to protect what I'd built. Ray leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. You want to isolate your assets. Everything. I confirmed. The pension, the savings, the truck, the tools. Anything that's mine stays mine. Anything joint gets separated. Legally. Cleanly. You gave her power of attorney 2 years ago, Ray said, pulling up my file on his computer. When she had that gallbladder surgery. You remember that. I remembered. Denise had been nervous about going under anesthesia, worried about paperwork piling up while she recovered. I told her not to worry, handled everything while she healed. She never revoked it, Ray said, looking at me over his reading glasses. Which means technically it's still active. Something clicked in my mind. How active? Fully durable, Ray replied. Unless she formally revoked it in writing, which according to my records she didn't, you still have legal authority to act on joint accounts and shared assets. I sat back, processing. So anything I do now is legal, Ray finished. Questionable maybe, but legal. You could restructure the joint accounts, move liquid assets into protected vehicles, even refinance shared property. All above board. Do it, I said without hesitation. All of it. Start with the pension rollover. Move it into an individual protected account. Then the savings. I want everything separated and documented by end of week. Ray nodded slowly. This is going to make her very unhappy. Good, I said, standing up. She threw me out based on a lie. I'm just making sure she can't throw away what I built in the process. I left Ray's office and drove straight to my lawyer's place. Not some big downtown firm, but Carla Bennett, a solo practitioner who'd handle my will and help me navigate union disputes. She was sharp, thorough, and didn't waste time on sympathy. Warren, Carla said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. Ray called ahead. Said you're in a situation. I need to protect myself, I told her. And I need to do it fast. Carla pulled out a legal pad. Then let's get to work. The private investigator's office was above a dry cleaner on 4th Street. Nothing fancy, just a desk, 2 chairs, and a wall of filing cabinets that looked older than I was. Dennis Porter had come recommended by my union rep, who'd used him during a fraud case 3 years back. Warren Strickland, Dennis said, shaking my hand. He was lean, maybe 50, with the patient eyes of someone who'd spent years watching people lie. Your buddy said you need background work. On my stepdaughter, I confirmed, sitting down. Bethany, 28 years old. I need to know if she's done this before. Dennis pulled out a notebook. Done what before? Made accusations, I said. False ones. This feels practiced, like she knew exactly what words would work. I want to know if there's a history. Give me what you have, Dennis said. I handed him a folder. Inside were Bethany's previous addresses, school records I'd kept from when I paid tuition, and the names of her past employers and landlords. How deep do you want me to go? Dennis asked, flipping through the pages. As deep as it takes, I replied. I want every job she's had, every place she's lived, every person she's burned. If she's lied before, I need proof. Dennis nodded. This'll take about a week, maybe 2. I'll start with employment records, then move to civil complaints. If there's a pattern, I'll find it. One more thing, I added. Her boyfriend. Guy named Derek. Something about him doesn't sit right. Can you dig into him too? Address. Dennis asked. She mentioned he lives downtown, I said. Drives a new BMW. Works in finance supposedly, but I've never seen evidence of an actual job. Dennis made a note. I'll add him to the list. I left his office and drove back to the motel. My laptop showed 3 new emails from Ray, my accountant. The pension had been rolled over. The joint savings account was now restructured into my name only, protected under the original power of attorney Denise had signed. The backup vehicle, a Toyota I'd bought for emergencies, had been transferred to a holding LLC I'd created that morning. Everything was being moved systematically, piece by piece, and Denise had no idea. She still thought I was sitting in some motel feeling sorry for myself. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in 17 years. I called my ex-wife Paula. Warren. Paula answered, surprise clear in her voice. Is everything okay? Not really, I admitted. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay, Paula said cautiously. When we split up, I began. You told me you'd fallen in love with someone else. You didn't hide it. Didn't lie. Just told me straight, and we handled it like adults. Do you remember that? Of course I remember, Paula replied quietly. You did the same. You told me your feelings had changed, that you'd both just grown apart. We were honest with each other. That's what I needed to hear, I said. Because what's happening now, with Denise and her daughter, it's the opposite of that. It's all lies and manipulation. Paula was quiet for a moment. What did they do? I told her everything. The accusation, the eviction, the calculated look on Bethany's face. That's horrible, Paula said. Warren, you were always good to our kids. Trevor and Natalie adore you. If you need me to vouch for your character, I will. Anytime, anywhere. I might take you up on that, I said. Thank you. We're still friends, Paula reminded me. That doesn't just disappear because we're not married anymore. After we hung up, I sat in the motel room and realized something. I wasn't alone in this. I had my kids. I had Paula. I had people who knew the truth. Denise and Bethany thought they'd isolated me, but they'd actually just forced me to call in reinforcements. My phone buzzed. Text from Trevor. Dad, Natalie and I want to help. Tell us what you need. I replied, get ready. Phase 2 starts next week. Ray called me on a Thursday morning. I was drinking gas station coffee, watching construction workers across the street dig a foundation for something nobody seemed to want. Warren, we've got a problem, Ray said without preamble. A big one. What kind of problem? I asked, setting down my coffee. I was going through the joint accounts like you asked, Ray explained, doing a complete audit of the last 5 years. Found something buried in the mortgage records. Denise took out a second mortgage 18 months ago. $200,000. I felt my chest tighten. What? She used the power of attorney you'd given her. Ray continued. Filed it as a home equity line of credit. Bank approved it because both your names were on the title and she had legal authority. Where did the money go? I demanded. That's the interesting part, Ray said. She transferred it to an investment account under her sister's name. Looks like some kind of real estate venture that went bust. The account's now empty, but the debt is still attached to your house. I stood up, pacing the small motel room. $200,000. She borrowed $200,000 against our house and lost it. Worse, Ray said. She was planning to make you responsible for it in the divorce. I found emails between her and her sister discussing how to structure it so the debt would fall primarily on you. Can you prove that? I asked. I have an email thread, Ray confirmed. She used her personal email, not encrypted. Talked about how you'd never notice until it was too late. I sat back down slowly. Forward everything to Carla. Every email, every bank record, every piece of documentation. Already done, Ray said. Warren, this changes things. She didn't just believe her daughter's lies. She was setting you up. After Ray hung up, I sat there processing. The accusation for Bethany wasn't just about getting me out of the house. It was about making sure I looked guilty, looked unstable, so that when the divorce came, Denise could claim I was the problem and stick me with her debts. It was coordinated, calculated, and they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated me. I called Carla immediately. I just got Ray's email, Carla said when she answered. This is fraud, Warren. Clear-cut financial fraud. Can we use it? I asked. Use it? Carla laughed without humor. We can bury her with it. She used your power of attorney to secure a loan, lost the money in a failed investment, and then tried to hide it while planning to make you liable. That's not just divorce court material. That's criminal. I don't want criminal charges, I said. I want leverage. You'll have it, Carla assured me. When she sees what we have, she'll fold. No judge will side with her after this. That evening, I sat in the motel and updated my spreadsheet. Column A, what they did. Column B, what I know. Column C, what I can prove. The columns were filling up fast, and none of it looked good for them. Denise had thrown me out thinking I was weak, thinking I'd just accept her daughter's lies and fade away quietly. She'd forgotten who I was. I'd spent 33 years working on railroads where one mistake could derail an entire freight line. I'd learned to check every detail, document every anomaly, and never assume anything was as simple as it looked. They wanted me gone. Fine. But I was taking everything I'd built with me, and they were keeping every mess they'd made. My phone buzzed. Trevor again. Dad, I did some digging at work. You were right about Derek. Guy's got a history. I replied, send me everything you found. 3 minutes later, my email pinged. I opened Trevor's message and started reading. By the second paragraph, I was smiling. Derek had quite the interesting past, and none of it was going to help Bethany's credibility. The call came exactly 2 weeks after Denise threw me out. I was sitting outside the motel, drinking coffee and watching morning traffic when my phone lit up. Unknown number. I let it ring twice before answering. Warren. It was Bethany, and her voice was shaking. Warren, I need to talk to my mom. Where is she? How would I know? I replied calmly. She kicked me out, remember? You were there. This isn't funny, Bethany said, her voice rising. Something's happening. I just got a letter from the university. They're investigating me. They mention your name and allegations, and I don't understand what's. Slow down. I interrupted. What exactly does the letter say? It says there's an ethics investigation, Bethany said, words tumbling out fast. They received documentation about false statements I made regarding family members. They're reviewing my fellowship application. Warren, what did you do? I didn't do anything. I said truthfully. I just submitted evidence. Emails you sent. Voice recordings you made. Your own words, Bethany. Nothing more, nothing less. Silence on the other end. Then, what recordings? The one where you call me a wallet with legs, I said. The one where you told your friend you could fake a panic attack, and I'd hand over anything. The one where you joked about how easy it was to manipulate me. Remember those? More silence. Then, barely a whisper. You recorded me? You recorded yourself. I corrected. In a shared cloud folder you forgot I had access to. I just forwarded your own content to the appropriate people. The University Ethics Board. The nonprofit that offered you a job. The trust fund administrators. Mom, Bethany screamed. Not to me, but away from the phone. Mom, he really did it. He actually did it. I heard scrambling on the other end. Footsteps. Then Denise's voice, sharp and panicked. Warren, what did you do to my daughter? I documented the truth, I said evenly. Something you should have done before believing her lies. Check your bank accounts, Denise. Then call me back if you want to talk about what I did. I hung up before she could respond. My phone rang again immediately. I declined it. It rang 4 more times in the next 10 minutes. I ignored every call. They'd spent 2 weeks thinking I was nursing my wounds in some cheap motel. Instead, I've been building a legal fortress, and they just walked face first into the first wall. An hour later, Dennis called. Warren, I've got your report, the investigator said. You were right. Bethany's got a history. Tell me, I said. 5 years ago, she accused her tennis coach of inappropriate comments, Dennis explained. Tried to get free lessons out of it. Coach nearly lost his job before another student came forward with messages proving Bethany had fabricated the whole thing. The club settled quietly, made her sign an NDA, banned her from the premises. Can the coach testify? I asked. He's willing, Dennis confirmed. Said he's been waiting years for someone to hold her accountable. He kept copies of everything. What else? I prompted. 3 years ago, she filed a complaint with her apartment complex, claiming the maintenance supervisor was harassing her, Dennis continued. Wanted out of her lease without penalty. Building reviewed security footage and found she'd never even interacted with the guy. They let her leave but flagged her file. And Derek? I asked. That's where it gets interesting, Dennis said. Derek Hollis, 31 years old, works as a financial consultant, which apparently means he has no actual employer. He's been dating Bethany for 8 months. Before her, he dated 2 other women with family money. Both relationships ended when the money ran out. He's a professional leech. Can you prove that? I asked. Credit history, employment records, court documents from a civil suit filed by one ex-girlfriend's father, Dennis rattled off. I've got it all compiled. This guy targets women with access to money, bleeds them dry, then moves on. Send everything to Carla, I said. And Dennis. Thank you. Just doing my job, Dennis replied. But Warren? Be careful. People like this don't fold quietly. Neither do I said and hung up. My phone buzzed. Text from Trevor. Dad, Natalie and I are watching Bethany's social media. She's melting down, posting about unfair treatment and false accusations against her. Should we screenshot everything? I replied, screenshot everything. Send it to Carla. Every post, every comment, every word. 2 minutes later, another text from Natalie. Dad, she just posted that you're harassing her. Should we respond? No. I type back. Let her talk. Every word she posts is evidence of consciousness of guilt. Let her bury herself. That evening, Carla called. Warren, they're panicking, my lawyer said. Denise's attorney called. She wants to meet. Wants to discuss reasonable terms. No meeting, I said. Not until discovery is complete. She's going to push, Carla warned. Let her push, I replied. I'm not negotiating from a position of defense anymore. She threw me out based on lies. She hid $200,000 in debt. Her daughter is a serial liar. They don't get to set terms now. Understood, Carla said. I'll tell them we'll respond when we're ready. I sat in that motel room and realized something. For 2 weeks, they thought they'd won. Thought I'd accepted my fate and disappeared quietly. They'd forgotten that I'd spent 3 decades working on systems where every bolt, every wire, every connection had to be documented and verified. I didn't react. I prepared. And now the train was coming, and they were standing on the tracks. Denise came to the motel 3 days later. I saw her pull up in her SUV through the window, watched her sit in the driver's seat for a full minute before getting out. She looked smaller somehow, tired. When she knocked on my door, I took my time answering. Warren, Denise said, her voice careful. Can we talk? About what? I asked, not inviting her in. About fixing this, she replied. About finding a way to move forward. I stepped outside, pulled the door closed behind me. You mean about pretending the last 2 weeks didn't happen? About forgetting that you believed your daughter's lies without even asking for my side? I was protecting her, Denise said, defensive. You were choosing her, I corrected. Without evidence. Without questions. You just decided I was guilty and threw me out. Denise looked down. She's my daughter. And I was your husband, I said. For 14 years. That didn't earn me the benefit of the doubt. What do you want, Warren? Denise asked, looking up. You want me to apologize? Fine. I'm sorry. I should have listened. But you're destroying her life. The university, the job offers, everything she worked for. Everything I paid for. I corrected quietly. And I'm not destroying anything. I'm just presenting the truth. Her own words. Her own actions. If that destroys her credibility, that's on her, not me. She made a mistake, Denise said. She made a calculated accusation. I replied. And you helped her. You stood there and let her push me out without a single question. So no, Denise, we're not fixing this. We're finishing it. What does that mean? She asked. It means I want a divorce, I said flatly. Clean. Final. And I want you to understand something. That $200,000 you borrowed against our house. I know about it. I know you lost it. I know you were planning to make me responsible for your debt. That doesn't work anymore. Denise's face went pale. How did you? I documented everything, I said. Every transaction. Every email. Every lie. You thought I'd just walk away quietly. You were wrong. Warren, please, Denise started. I gave you power of attorney when you had surgery. I continued. You never revoked it. Which means everything I've done in the last 2 weeks, restructuring accounts, moving assets, protecting what's mine, all of it's legal. You gave me that authority. I just used it. You can't do this, Denise said, her voice shaking. I already did it, I replied. The pension's protected. The savings are separated. The vehicles are transferred. The house is split. You keep the foundation and the debt you created. I keep everything else. That's not fair, Denise protested. Fair. I looked at her steadily. You threw me out based on a lie. You had massive debt. Your daughter has a history of false accusations. And you think I'm being unfair. Denise started crying. Not the manipulative kind. The kind that comes when someone realizes they've lost something they can't get back. I loved you, I said quietly. I raised your daughter like she was mine. I worked every overtime shift, every holiday, every weekend to give you both a good life. And the moment it became inconvenient to defend me, you chose her lie over my truth. That's what I can't forgive. What do you want me to do? Denise asked through tears. Sign the papers when they come, I said. Accept the settlement. Move on. Because that's all that's left now. I walked back into my motel room and closed the door. Through the window, I watched her sit in her car for another 5 minutes before driving away. No screaming, no drama, just the quiet ending of something that had died 2 weeks ago when she chose to believe I was a monster. My phone buzzed. Text from Ray. All accounts secured. Asset transfer complete. You're legally protected. Another text from Carla. Received call from her lawyer. They want to negotiate. Should I set up a meeting? I replied to Carla. No meeting. We present terms, or we go to court. Their choice. That evening, I drove to the house. My house. Our house. Former house. I parked across the street and just looked at it. The porch light I'd installed last summer. The fence I'd repaired in spring. The garden I planted for Denise's birthday 3 years ago. I'd built a life there. A real one. With real work and real sacrifice. And they'd thrown it away based on convenient lies and hidden greed. I started the truck and drove back to the motel. I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt clear, like something that had been broken was finally being set properly, even if the healing would hurt. Tomorrow, Carla would file the divorce petition. Next week, the university would interview Bethany. The week after, Derek would find out his background check had been forwarded to Bethany's family. Everything was in motion now. Not revenge, just consequences meeting actions after years of getting away with neither. The lawyer's office was downtown, all glass and steel. Too clean, too sterile. Denise arrived with her attorney, a younger guy in an expensive suit who looked like he'd practiced his aggressive posture in a mirror. I came with Carla, who wore her usual no-nonsense blazer and carried a briefcase that looked older than both of us. Mr. Strickland, Denise's lawyer, began, spreading his folders across the conference table. We're here to discuss equitable distribution. My client is prepared to negotiate fairly regarding the marital home, retirement accounts, and shared assets. Carla opened her briefcase without expression. She slid a thick folder across the table. Before we discuss distribution, perhaps you should review what your client failed to disclose. Denise's lawyer flipped it open. I watched his confident expression slowly dissolve as he read. Page 1. The $200,000 home equity loan. Page 2. Email exchanges discussing how to hide it. Page 3. Bank records showing the money transferred to her sister's failed investment account. Page 4. More emails planning to make me liable during divorce proceedings. He looked up at Denise. Did you take out this loan? I had authority, Denise said defensively. Warren gave me power of attorney. For medical emergencies, her lawyer said, voice tight. Not for borrowing $200,000 without his knowledge. Actually, Carla interjected, she had full durable power of attorney, which means the loan was technically legal. But concealing it while planning to make him liable? That's fraud. The lawyer closed the folder. He looked at Denise with the expression of someone who just realized he was representing a losing case. There's more, Carla continued, sliding another folder across. Documentation of your client's daughter making false accusations. Previous incidents with a tennis coach, an apartment landlord. Witness statements. Audio recordings where she admits to manipulating Mr. Strickland. All of this will be presented if we proceed to trial. You recorded private conversations? Denise's lawyer asked. Her daughter recorded herself. Carla corrected. In shared digital spaces. Mr. Strickland simply preserved evidence that was already accessible to him. I sat quietly, watching. This was Carla's show. I was just the guy who'd spent 2 weeks collecting ammunition while they thought I was sulking. What are your terms? Denise's lawyer finally asked. Carla pulled out a single sheet of paper. Mr. Strickland keeps his pension, his personal vehicles, his tools, and all premarital assets. The marital home will be sold. Proceeds split 50-50 after the $200,000 loan is satisfied from Mrs. Strickland's portion. She keeps her vehicle and personal belongings. No alimony, either direction. Clean break. That's not equitable, Denise's lawyer protested. She'll be left with almost nothing after the loan is paid. She should have considered that before hiding it, Carla replied. These are the terms. Accept them, or we go to discovery where a judge reviews everything, including the fraud. Your choice. Denise leaned forward. Warren, please. We can work this out. We don't need lawyers tearing everything apart. I looked at her directly. You tore it apart when you believed your daughter's lies. When you threw me out without a question. When you had debt and planned to ruin me financially. The lawyers are just cleaning up your mess. I made mistakes, Denise said, tears forming. But we had 14 years together. That has to count for something. It did, I replied, right up until you decided it didn't. Sign the papers, Denise. This is the best offer you'll get. Her lawyer whispered something to her. She shook her head. They whisper more. Finally, she nodded. We'll need time to review, her lawyer said. You have 48 hours, Carla stated. After that, we file and let the court decide. We left the office. Outside, Carla turned to me. They'll sign. They have no choice. Good, I said. I'm tired of this. Warren, Carla added. You handle that well. Stayed calm. Didn't engage emotionally. That's how you win these things. 33 years in the union taught me something. I replied. Never let them see you rattled. Even when you are. Are you? Carla asked. Rattled? No, I said honestly. Just ready for it to be over. Trevor called on a Wednesday morning. Dad, you need to see something. I'm sending you a link. The link led to a local news website. The headline read, Local man accused of financial exploitation pattern. Below it was Derek's photo and a detailed article outlining his history of targeting women with family money. How did this get published? I asked. Bethany's tennis coach, Trevor explained. The one from 5 years ago. He kept tabs on her over the years. When he heard about what happened to you, he connected with Derek's ex-girlfriend's father. That father happens to own a newspaper. They put the story together. It's all factual, all documented, completely legal. I read through the article. Every detail verified. Court records. Civil suits. A pattern spanning 7 years and 4 different women. Derek wasn't just a leech. He was systematic about it. There's more, Trevor continued. Natalie found Bethany's latest social media posts. She's claiming Derek manipulated her into accusing you. That it was his idea to get you out of the house so she could access more money. Is that true? I asked. Does it matter? Trevor replied. She's throwing him under the bus to save herself. Whether he suggested it or she did, they were working together. Now they're turning on each other. I pulled up Bethany's social media. Sure enough, there were posts from the last 24 hours claiming she'd been influenced and manipulated by Derek. That she was young and naive and taken advantage of. She's 28 years old, I said to Trevor. Not exactly young and naive. But your point stands, Trevor replied. She's trying to rewrite history again. Forward everything to Carla, I said. Every post, every claim. If she wants to blame Derek, fine. But she still made the accusation. She still knew what she was doing. That afternoon, Dennis called with an update. Warren, Derek left town. Packed up and disappeared sometime last night. Bethany's been trying to reach him. He's ghosted her completely. Smart move on his part, I said. Once the article published, he knew he was done. There's something else, Dennis added. Your stepdaughter's been contacting her former landlords and employers, trying to get them to retract statements or destroy records. Offered one landlord money to misplace his documentation. That's witness tampering, I said. Exactly, Dennis confirmed. I've documented everything and sent it to Carla. She's notifying the appropriate authorities. By evening, the situation had escalated. Bethany posted a long message claiming she was the victim of a coordinated attack by her stepfather who couldn't accept rejection. She claimed Derek had abandoned her and that she'd lost everything because of vindictive men. Natalie sent me screenshots. Dad, she's getting destroyed in the comments. People are posting links to the news article about Derek. Others are sharing the tennis coach story. She's being called out by dozens of people who know her history. Let it play out, I replied. I'm not engaging. She's doing this to herself. The next morning, Carla called. Warren, Denise signed the papers. It's done. The divorce will be final in 60 days. What about the house? I asked. Listed next week. She's moving in with her sister. From what I hear, her sister isn't happy about the debt situation either. And Bethany? I asked. University officially withdrew her fellowship yesterday, Carla said. The nonprofit rescinded their offer last week. The trust fund remains frozen, pending final review. She's pretty much locked out of everything. Good, I said. Maybe she'll learn something. Don't count on it, Carla replied. People like that rarely do. But at least she can't hurt you anymore. After the call, I sat in the motel room and realized I felt lighter. Not happy exactly, just unburdened. The weight of their lies and manipulation was finally off my shoulders. I protected myself, documented everything, and let the truth do the work. My phone buzzed. Text from Trevor. Dad, Natalie and I are proud of you. You didn't let them win. You stood up for yourself. That takes strength. I replied. I learned from watching you two grow up. You don't let people walk over you just because they're family. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold people accountable. The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and weak coffee. I'd been sitting there for 3 hours when Trevor and Natalie arrived together. Dad, Trevor said, sitting down next to me. The doctor said it's not serious. Just stress-related. Your blood pressure spiked, but you're going to be fine. I know, I replied. They told me. Said I need to take it easy for a few weeks. Natalie took my other side. You've been through hell, Dad. Your body's just catching up to what your mind already processed. The doctor had called it a cardiac event. Not a heart attack, but close enough to scare me. I'd been in the motel that morning, packing up my things to move into a rental house I'd found, when my chest started hurting. Sharp pain. Couldn't breathe right. I'd driven myself to the emergency room, which the doctor said was stupid but lucky. There's someone here to see you, Trevor said carefully. She's in the hallway. Says she won't leave until you talk to her. I knew who it was before he said the name. Paula. Trevor nodded. She heard about the hospital visit. Drove 2 hours to get here. Paula walked in a minute later. My ex-wife looked the same as I remembered. Older, obviously, but still carrying herself with that quiet confidence I'd always respected. Warren, Paula said, sitting across from me. You scared your kids. Wasn't intentional, I replied. I know, Paula said. They called me. Told me everything that's been happening. The divorce, the accusations, all of it. Warren, I want you to know something. If you need me to testify about your character, I'll do it. Anytime, anywhere. What Denise and her daughter did to you is unforgivable. Thank you, I said. But it's almost over. The divorce is final in a few weeks. The house sells next month. I'm moving on. Paula leaned forward. Where are you moving? Found a place up in Bellingham, I told her. Small town near the coast. Got a workshop space I can rent. Figured I'd finally restore that old radio collection I've been talking about for 20 years. That sounds perfect, Paula said, smiling. You always talked about doing that. Never had time before, I replied. Between work and everything else. Now I've got nothing but time. Trevor cleared his throat. Dad, there's something else. Your niece Chloe called. She got the notification about the trust fund transfer. She wanted to thank you. Chloe, my brother's daughter, 22 years old, studying to be a veterinarian. I'd transferred the remaining marital assets into a trust for her education. Not out of spite, just because she actually deserved it. She cried on the phone, Natalie added. Said you're giving her a future she thought she'd never afford. She wants to visit you once you're settled. She can visit any time, I said. She's good people, unlike some others I could mention. Paula stood up. Warren, I need to head back. But I'm glad you're okay. And I'm glad you stood up for yourself. That takes real strength. We stayed friends for a reason, I told her. Thank you for being here. After she left, I sat with my kids for another hour. We didn't talk about Denise or Bethany. We talked about Trevor's promotion at work, about Natalie's upcoming vacation, about normal things that normal families discuss. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. 4 months later, I stood in my workshop in Bellingham, surrounded by vintage radios in various states of repair. The space was perfect. High ceilings, good lighting, and most importantly, quiet. No drama. No accusations. Just me and my projects. My phone buzzed. Text from Trevor. Dad, saw something you should know about. Bethany tried applying to another university. They rejected her application. Word's gotten around. I didn't reply. Bethany's future wasn't my concern anymore. She'd made her choices. Now she lived with them. The workshop door opened. Chloe walked in carrying 2 coffees and a bag of donuts. Uncle Warren, my niece said, handing me a coffee. I brought sustenance. You've been working since 6 this morning. Old habits, I replied, accepting the cup. How's the veterinary program going? Amazing, Chloe said, her face lighting up. I just finished my first surgical observation. Uncle Warren, I can't thank you enough. Without that trust fund, I'd be working 3 jobs and taking classes part-time. You gave me a real shot at this. You earned it, I told her. You actually work hard. You're honest. You deserve success. Chloe looked around the workshop. This place suits you. It's peaceful. That's the point, I said. I spent 33 years dealing with union politics and railroad bureaucracy, then 14 years dealing with other complications. I'm done with complicated. Simple is good. Later that afternoon, I got an email from Carla. The subject line read, "Final closure." The email was brief. The house had sold. After the loan was paid off and proceeds divided, Denise had walked away with about $30,000. I'd received my half plus all the protected assets I'd moved months earlier. The divorce was officially final. All legal ties severed. There was a postscript. Denise attempted to contact you through my office. I declined to forward her message. Let me know if you want me to maintain that boundary. I replied, maintain the boundary. We're done. That evening, Trevor, Natalie, and Chloe came over for dinner. We grilled steaks on my new patio overlooking the water. We talked about Natalie's new relationship, about Trevor's plans to buy a house, about Chloe's dreams of opening her own veterinary practice someday. Nobody mentioned Denise. Nobody mentioned Bethany. They were footnotes in a chapter I'd already closed. "Dad," Trevor said as the sun set over the water, "you look happy. Really happy. I haven't seen you like this in years." "I feel happy," I admitted. "Took me a while to get here. But yeah, I'm good." "What changed?" Natalie asked. I thought about it. I stopped carrying weight that wasn't mine to carry. Stopped accepting blame for other people's lies. Started focusing on what matters. This. I gestured at the three of them. Real family. Real connections. Real peace. After they left, I sat on the patio alone, watching stars appear over the water. My phone stayed silent. No crisis. No drama. No accusations. Just the sound of waves and the occasional call of a seabird. Somewhere across the state, Denise was living with her sister, probably still bitter about how things ended. Somewhere else, Bethany was discovering that actions have consequences and lies have expiration dates. I didn't wish them ill. I just didn't think about them at all. I'd spent 17 years investing in someone else's daughter, 14 years building a marriage, decades working to provide stability. And when it came time to choose between truth and convenience, they chose convenience. So I chose freedom, and I never looked back. The next morning, I returned to my workshop, turned on my vintage radio, and got back to work. The world kept spinning. Life kept moving forward. And for the first time in a long time, I was moving with it on my own terms.